Hi, I'm Jean Schumacher. I am founder of the Weight Loss Advantage, where I help people to lose 50 to 100 pounds without dieting. You can find my website at www.weightlossadvantage.co. Couldn't get the .co. I also have another website, simplyplantbased.net. And there's a lot of resources there, recipes, all kinds of good things to help you to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. And coming January of 2020, is the pregnancy advantage to help people, ladies, to get pregnant ready. And today I have the honor, the privilege of connecting with Dr. Robert Ostfeld, who is the director of Preventative Cardiology, and he's the founder and director of the Cardiac Wellness Program at the Montefiore Health System. He's the associate professor of clinical medicine at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. He earned his master's in epidemiology from Harvard School of Public Health, and he also got his MD from Yale University School of Medicine. He's board certified in internal medicine, cardiovascular disease, and echocardiography. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today, Doc.
Oh, well, Jean, it's an honor to be here with you. And the work that you're doing is so incredibly impressive and helping so many. It's such an incredible resource. So thank you for doing that and letting me join you today.
Well, you have been busy. I mean, apart from at the hospital, you've been writing up a storm, and you've got some great articles, and we're going to dive into that today. But before we do, you have a conference coming up November 2nd at Montefiore. Tell us about this program.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's our third annual conference, and it's called the Montefiore Einstein Preventive Cardiology Conference, and it's largely about plant-based nutrition and cardiovascular health. And we've been so excited. It's sold out the last 2 years. It has continuing education credits for physicians, for nurses, for RDs. We're really, really happy about that. The food at the conference is fully plant-based, the snacks, the lunch, and that is made by our cafeteria. And people come up to me unsolicitedly and discuss how much they love the food, which is just a really incredible thing to think that our cafeteria, a hospital cafeteria, is doing that. And I could dive into that more. They're doing all kinds of incredible stuff at the Montefiore cafeterias. So yeah, the conference is on November 2nd. It's a full day. Many of the people your audience knows well will be speaking there, like Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Michelle McMacken, Dr. Danielle Belardo, Dr. Walter Willett from the Harvard School of Public Health will be speaking, Dr. Joel Kahn, Dr. Wilson Tang. Dr. Tang is first of all, he's an amazing guy, and he's a world expert in TMAO, or trimethylamine oxide. So we're super excited to have him. And then there's this whole other emerging area of research in Sciatic Acids that are in non-human primates, and when we eat them can cause inflammation, and we could talk about that later. But one of the pioneers of that research, Dr. Gortz, is coming over from San Diego to talk, so I'm really excited to highlight that kind of information. So it's on November 2nd. It's at Montefiore in the Bronx, and we'd love to have you there. It's open to everybody.
It's not just for medical people, because this will be my third year doing this, coming in, because it is amazing. And so it's not just for medical people, it's for the average layperson. And the research that you're going to hear is going to, I walk out of there and my head is just like, oh my God, wow. It's just incredible. I mean, the amount of research that you're going to hear and support that you're learning about this plant-based lifestyle, like the TMAO, it's incredible.
Well, thank you. And we tell the speakers that the audience is a mix of scientists and physicians and general public, so they tailor their talks accordingly. And so if people are interested in going, I hope you are, just know we did sell out the last 2 years. So if you want to get your ticket, I would do it on the sooner side.
Well, I think when you told me last time that you're kind of on the end of selling out the tickets. So if people are interested, they better get their tickets now, because every year people are like, I want to go. And it's like, oh, sold out. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel bad. I get all these emails and texts and stuff from people I know. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Once we hit the fire code limit, that's it. So hopefully I get to see you all there.
It's an amazing conference. It really is. And by the way, the food is incredible. And you guys are doing some amazing things at the hospital. Like you have now plant-based offerings in the hospital, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just been an incredible ride. And that one, like we've got an outpatient initiative, an inpatient initiative, and an educational / research initiative. And for that inpatient one, what I would do is, sometimes I round in the hospital, I see patients and people are admitted. I go see them for whatever cardiac reason. And I'd go walk into the patient's room and I'd go like, rah, rah, plants. And I'd leave and like 10 minutes later, dinner's served and it's chicken. I'm like totally undercut. I'm like, this is no good. So I'm like, we had to fix that. So I got to meet with the head of food services and the head of nutrition, and we developed plant-based meals, a whole week's worth of a menu for inpatients. And now, I mean, you can still order whatever, the docs can order whatever they would like, but they can also order plant-based meals. And that comes with a handout which describes it in English and Spanish. And we have the documentary film, Forks Over Knives, playing on continuous loop on one of the inpatient channels with Spanish subtitles for free for patients. So now I can walk into a patient's room, go rah, rah, plants, have the meal get ordered, they get the handout, they can watch the film. It's like I have my whole plant posse with me. It's wonderful. It's really, we're very excited about it. And we've just been layering on more initiatives. Like another inpatient one that we're working on now, like a lot of these things are, to my knowledge, have not happened before. And a lot of hospital systems are calling us because they're interested in bringing some of the stuff that we've made to, their systems, like major systems across the US, which is pretty cool. And actually, before I get to this new initiative, those meals that the patients get, they're also served in the Montefiore cafeteria. And they tell me it sells out. So this is just great.
Who knew?
Small. I know, it's like terrific. And oh my God, our cafeteria now, we work with them so closely and they're amazing. They've been Meatless Mondays since I think 2016. And there's a smoothie bar. They've got, of course, a salad bar. They have a whole like plant-based section that's basically the meals that are delivered to patients. They've got sushi, but there's a bunch of vegan sushi, brown rice, vegan sushi options. So it's really quite tremendous. And so one other inpatient initiative that we're doing that I'm really pumped about, we just rolled it out in July because, like the new fellows and residents all start in July. It's just one simple sentence. And we added it to the cardiology fellows inpatient consult template. And so basically, if they see a patient in the hospital, they write a note. Like if you see a doctor, when you go to see them in clinic, they write a note about what happened. I checked blood pressure, I looked in their eyes, whatever, they write a note. Well, when we see patients in the hospital, we do the same thing. So in the cardiology fellow's note, it says there's a diet health question. And we put it in a real estate important part of the note because there's some parts of the note that fewer people look at and the parts of the note that more people look at. So we put it in the more people section. And it says diet health, does the patient consume 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day? Yes, no, deferred. And we put deferred so that they would have to say that like I took an overt action to not ask this, to kind of like embarrass them a little bit by not doing it. And it's wholly non-controversial, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. But the reason we're doing that is because obviously we want to kind of imprint it in the brain of our trainees because it's critically important. And then they, of course, graduate and they go wherever they go. It's important for the patients. And it's important, we think, for the other people who are reading the notes. When they see that the cardiologist thinks that that's important, all these other teams of stuff that are reading, we're hoping that it'll just percolate more and more throughout the system and beyond. So it's a teeny little intervention, but we have high hopes. And along those lines, this next one we have not rolled out yet, but I'm in discussions with our cardiac catheterization laboratory. Those are the people who put in stents and, treat acute heart attacks and do all kinds of amazing stuff. And they, those kinds of places have not traditionally had a focus on nutrition. But some do, and ours is extremely open, and we are going to plan a very brief, like 30 to 45 second intervention that after the patients get their procedure, that the team is going to suggest a plant-based diet to them and give them like a one-page handout that we've made. It's just like a plate. It's like a picture with like what your daily food intake should look like. Really simple. Keep it, what is that, the Clinton line, KSS, keep it simple, stupid,
Yeah,
So we're
right.
just trying to keep, not because we think the patients are, because we know for our workflow, if we don't keep it simple for us, we won't do it. If it's super complicated, it's going to be too much for us to pull off. We know the patients can pull it off, but so that we're just trying to keep it simple for workflow reasons. So I'm really excited about that one. And so that's another cool initiative. And we, of course, have an outpatient initiative where I see patients in clinic. We've in plant-based nutrition. We have handouts. We've got our Saturday morning sessions where we spend about 4 or 5 hours taking a deep dive into the how and why of plant-based nutrition. And we don't charge patients for it. I fund it all through donations because there's a very large indigent patient population where I work. So, even if we charge $10, that may be too much of a rate limiting step. So we want to make this open for everybody. And we've got our educational arm, which in part includes the conference, which I'm really excited about. And we're doing some research as well. So all of this is, I feel very fortunate to be part of Montefiore and that we're pushing this forward there.
Well, if somebody wanted to donate to the program, do you accept donations as well for like your conference to help fund that?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of this is done through private donations.
Yeah, that's a critical part of our program, and it really keeps us alive. And so, yes, they absolutely can donate to the program. It's all tax deductible. And we have a website that it's www.montefiore.org /cardiac wellness program. Or even if you just Google Montefiore Cardiac Wellness Program, it'll come up. And in teeny, tiny, itty-bitty blue letters, there's something that says support the program. If you click on that, it'll take you to a donation page. So thank you for reminding me about that. And it's all tax deductible. So if you go through that page, the development office at Montefiore will send you a letter for tax purposes. And that's what keeps us alive, a lot of what we do.
You're not funded through the hospital for this, for the conference. No. For the wellness program that you do, for all this outreach. I know you donate your time on Saturdays once a month. You donate the whole day, and the food you get donated as well. The whole conference. I mean, you put it in yourself. I mean, it's just, so it's not sponsored by that. You are doing this yourself with a shoestring budget.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and thank you. That is true. I'm very lucky that Montefiore is letting us do this, but it's not fiscally supported. I have to raise the funds myself.
Right. So if anybody can help, that's amazing. So you've been quite prolific lately writing all these articles, right. But one it's called A Plant-Based Diet and Heart Failure. And it was in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology. So, because heart disease is one of the top causes of illness and death in the US. I mean, so what have you seen since your focus on your on your patient care on nutrition at Montefiore?
I've seen just so many incredible things, and we'll circle back to heart failure in a moment. I've said this before. I've been a cardiologist now forever. I don't know, it feels 16 years. So, and outside of a medical emergency, like someone gets shot and has to be put back together again. I've never seen anything come close to the breadth and depth of benefits that a plant-based diet provides. Whether, from coronary artery disease to high blood pressure, to all into inflammatory diseases, cholesterol, weight loss, all sorts of issues. And of course, major groups like the Eat Lancet study are talking about planetary health and how plant-based nutrition is incredible for planetary health. And, at the end of the day, who cares how healthy we are? No planet, no health. It doesn't matter. So we need to take care of the health of the planet too. And plant-based nutrition is a win-win in that regard. So I've just seen incredible patient turnarounds. We literally have people crying tears of joy in our office. They feel so much better. I just bumped into this one patient. He's very comfortable talking about stuff. I'm not going to mention any names, but he's posting all over social media. So it's very open about it. I saw him just like a couple weeks ago. An amazing, amazing guy. Bad heart disease, was recommended to have bypass surgery, and he didn't want to have it. Like, that's cool. Patient's the boss. And so took medications, and he went plant-based. And at the time, he really couldn't do much activity, chest pressure, shortness of breath. I don't think he could, walk, I don't even know, 600-700 feet. And now the guy, 9 months later, ran a half marathon. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable.
What is it with people that as soon as they do this and they change, they start running marathons? I mean, unless a bear is chasing me, not happening. Not happening. I'm not running. No. I mean, anyway, sorry, I digress. But that's amazing. A half marathon?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to set unrealistic expectations. Different people have differing progressions of benefit. Right. But this guy really had an incredible benefit. I mean, he's not breaking Olympic records, but he ran. So it's just amazing. I mean, I don't know if I could run a half marathon now. And so he's just such an inspirational, wonderful guy. And although that's a bit of an outlier example, we see time and time again people losing tons of weight, coming off multiple medications, feeling better, playing with their kids and grandkids when they couldn't before. It's why you go into medicine. It's wonderful.
Right. You want to see your patients get better.
Yeah.
And how many doctors can actually say that? I mean, seriously.
I don't know. I don't think many. I mean, I think a lot of docs can say we have stemmed the tide. Medications work and procedures can be helpful. We've sort of we've bent the curve a little bit, but I don't know that they could ever say that they've really like reversed or something. And not everybody gets reversed, but some people can. And it's just wonderful to see this. And as that article that you mentioned is super exciting for us. And because one thing, it's in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology, and we had the opportunity to edit this whole issue of it. There's like 10 articles in it about cardiovascular disease and plant-based nutrition, all academic. And so if anyone's interested, you just have to Google, it's all open access, Google Journal of Geriatric Cardiology. It's issue 5, 2017. Issue 5, 2017, you click on it, and there are 10 articles all about plant-based nutrition, from high blood pressure to heart disease to stroke to practical ways to do it, everything in between. And people, Dr. Colin Campbell, Dr. Tom Campbell, Caldwell Esselstyn, Kim Williams, Michelle McMacken, all authored articles for this. So it was, and I don't know that there had been something like that out there before. So we were really honored to, be able to do something like that.
I know, to have a whole issue of just about plant-based living.
Yeah, we wanted to have like some kind of like academic backbone, because obviously there's tons of incredible work out there and lots of amazing people like yourself helping to spread the message in a thoughtful, academic, really important way. But we wanted there to be like one place where people could go to get a whole bunch of references and articles that could serve as a nice backbone for them. So that was kind of the purpose of doing that. And this article was one of them. And heart failure is an unbelievably vexing problem. It is exquisitely common. And as we get sicker and our population gets older, it's just happening more and more often. And the kind of heart failure, there's two kind of categories of heart failure. One where the heart squeezes normally, we call that diastolic heart failure. And one where the heart squeezes more weakly than normal, we call that systolic heart failure. We were focusing on the more weakly contracting heart one for this analysis. And we actually just recently published another case report in Frontiers in Nutrition about another patient who had really great outcome with heart failure and plant-based nutrition. And before I even start, I definitely have to say, because sometimes these things get lost, that for all kinds of things, including heart failure, medications can be exquisitely helpful and important. And it is not either or. It is not, I'm going to do meds or plant-based diet. It is all of the above to help protect people. Medications are important. Lifestyle is important. Procedures can be important. All of the above. So yeah, you know, I think that's a very important theme that sometimes gets lost.
Well, yeah,
So,
that leads into my next question. When new patients come to see you, what medications are most of them taking?
well, I mean, I see people for all sorts of cardiac reasons, but, you know, in general, I mean, it's like every case report, every case conference I go to, because like our fellows, they have these, you know, present the case and we discuss the case. They're all, you could just, every consult, you could just stamp them. It's like an X-year-old person has chest pressure, shortness of breath, and they're obese, and they have high blood pressure, and they have high cholesterol, and they have pre-diabetes, they have diabetes. Like it's always a lot of that. The patients that I see as a cardiologist are somewhat enriched for disease. So most of the time they're on, and these meds are important. They're on a statin, almost always. They're on a blood pressure pill, almost always. They're almost always on a diabetes medication, like metformin or something, often on an aspirin. So that's like pretty much par for the course. And, you know, there are a variety of different cardiac issues that we'll see. The heart failure patients, the ones whose hearts beat more weakly than normal, they're usually on even more meds because there are a number of meds that although I know it can be frustrating, but that help them live longer, like a beta blocker or an ACE inhibitor or other newer kinds of medications like that, but they will help them live longer. So they're very, very important to use. So our heart failure patients can often be on 8, 9 medications, and that's not uncommon at all, and with very good intentions. But what we found, now there's very limited data with systolic heart failure or the weakly beating heart and plant-based diet. Now there's reason to think it would be helpful, but we don't have a lot of data out there. And that was one of the reasons why we want to put out this case report, another case report. And what that does is when you have enough cases out there, then you start building case series and then maybe a trial. So it sort of builds kind of an academic momentum to try to prove it or not prove it, depending on what the studies show. So so the kinds of benefits that your listeners are used to hearing about with plant-based nutrition for maybe more garden variety cardiovascular disease like coronary artery disease or high cholesterol, high blood pressure, those kinds of things improve the same way in someone who has heart failure. And of course, there's the anti-inflammatory effects and the antioxidant effects and the beneficial effects on the microbiome.
There's so much new information about the microbiome that's coming out. It's incredible. I'm
totally am with you. I mean, like, that is the next great frontier. We are just barely scratching the surface. And Dr. Tang, who literally is one of the world's, if not the world expert in it, will be speaking at our conference. So great. But
he was great last year too. I mean, his presentation was amazing. So I can't wait to see what he's doing. He said he's working
on a whole new talk. I was oh my God. I just want to go. I want November 2nd to come quickly so I can.
I know. Well, my question is, are you recording this so that if somebody can't come, can they buy the conference?
Probably I am. It's not etched in stone yet. Like you were talking about, I have some financial limitations. So if the donations work out or I'm able to sell, like get enough ticket revenue, this is very helpful. Then we will record it, and because I want to get it, professionally recorded and edited, and so that it can be appropriately shared with people. So that is.
We need to get the message out there. So if somebody out there listening to this video can help and step up and help fund this to get this out there, because it's so important. I mean, and especially I just know for myself, if I had the opportunity to buy it, I would, because my eyes start glazing over. I mean, there's just so much information coming at you all day long through the conference, and it's just so incredible, and I'm constantly taking, pictures with my cell phone on the screen because the research up there is just incredible. I mean, honestly. So if anybody out there has the opportunity to help fund this, for Dr. Ostfeld, please, connect with me, or I can help, link it to Dr. Ostfeld. We can get it onto the page. That would be amazing and be very helpful for a lot of people that need to hear this message. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And Yeah, hopefully that'll work out. I want to, like, our goal is to spread this as much as possible. We're not looking to make money off this. We're just looking to break even, and so that we can just keep going. And
Right?
yeah, it really is true. But so you're so right about the microbiome. It's so exciting.
I know.
And it turns out, basically, there are just so many studies out there, but the more plant-based you eat, it appears, fosters and promotes a healthier microbiome, and the more animal products does exactly the opposite. And when you feed, like, it's largely the fiber that's in the plant-based foods. Animal-based foods, they don't have fiber. We have bones that keep us standing. Plants have fiber. So when you eat plant-based foods, you get fiber, and that feeds the microbiome, which is helpful in so many ways. Let's see. One way is cool is the healthy gut microbiome. They live in our GI tract. They make something called short-chain fatty acids. One of them is butyrate. Who cares? Well, butyrate is made by the microbiome. And what it does is it diffuses into the cells that line our GI tract, and it is anti-inflammatory. It may even down-regulate cholesterol production in them. It is anti-inflammatory. In mouse models, it reduces atherosclerosis. It can go to the brain. Talk about the gut-brain connection. It can go to the brain, and it's hypothesized that can reduce depression. I mean, it is mind-blowing, and we are just scratching the surface.
Wow.
There are like a trillion, I don't even know, like a trillion gut bacteria in us. And you could say that we're the parasites, not them. There's only one of us. There's like a trillion of them. So, and they are so critical for our health, from gut inflammation and from protecting our gut to anti-inflammatory properties, anti-diabetes properties throughout the body, improving the health of blood vessels, which ties in, all of that ties in to heart failure. And so all of those things, the anti-inflammatory effect and making the blood vessels healthier, may help the heart be able to not have to work as hard and heal over time. No guarantees on this. There's very limited data, but we have a couple of cases of patients who went plant-based and their heart function substantially improved. No guarantee that that's going to happen in everybody. We do not have enough data to say that. These are just case reports, and so that's just hypothesis generated. I have another case.
What is the average length of time before a patient of yours sees the results of lifestyle changes?
Well, so the typical patient, not the heart failure patient, but the typical patient, usually within a week or two. If they really dive in, what they typically first see is two things. The first one is their clothes are a little looser. And they have this. And the second one is they may feel a little lightheaded. What do I mean? Why would that be good? Well, basically what it means is their blood pressure is coming down, and we have to start backing off their high blood pressure medications because they don't need them as much anymore. So I warn them, like, if you feel lightheaded, call us, and then we oftentimes will have to lower the doses than they feel, and the lightheadedness goes away. And it's really vestige of their bodies getting healthier. Another thing that'll happen quickly in people with angina or chest pressure or shortness of breath from cholesterol blockages in their heart is often within 2 or 3 weeks, that'll start to improve. It takes a while to get better, but they will start to notice a difference in that because their blood vessels are getting much healthier, able to make more nitric oxide and dilate a little bit more, improving blood flow, reducing angina, usually 2 to 3 weeks to begin to see an improvement in that. Oh, and another kind of improvement, actually, I've seen multiple times, and there's a large database to support it, is an erectile dysfunction, and even improving erectile function. There was an interesting study out of Canada where like every serving of fruit and vegetables per day was associated with, forgetting exactly, about a 10% lower rate or odds of having erectile dysfunction. And many of our patients who go plant-based see improvements in that area. And I had one guy call me up and say that he is now a rock star in the bedroom. I don't know what his wife thinks, but that's what he thinks.
Well, I have to say it's true. I mean, for me, for my husband, you know, he went plant-based, and he's making up for like 20 years of having issues, you know, and he's a plant-based rock star. And, you know, and if you ever see him out and about, you know, with me, feel free. He'll be happy. Yep. Plant-based. Yeah, absolutely. Way to go. You know, his flag rises. Thank you very much. And yeah. So it's amazing.
So much.
And that's one of the things, the hooks for the men out there, you know, if that's something that's concerning to you, that you want to continue that, plant-based, baby.
Yeah. If you're a man or someone who likes a man, that is going to be helpful. And there's a good bit of evidence to support it. There are other interesting studies that are going to be coming along the way that's going to look at that in even more detail. So it's just great.
What about changes in their lifestyle, in their quality of life?
Oh my God. I mean, that's pretty much why we have the patients crying tears of joy, because like they can do stuff, you know, like people want to walk their kid down the aisle, you know, they want to play with their kids and grandkids. And like, if you're too short, like, you know, a 4-year-old doesn't get it that grandpa's too short of breath to run around really. But now they can run around, and, you know, now they can play the games and do the stuff with their family they weren't able to do before. They can go, you know what, like we want to go to a restaurant with grandpa, but we have to park, you know, now half a mile away, but can you walk there? It weaves itself into the fabric of the day-to-day in ways that, you know, you may not even have thought of. You know, I can't go over because I have to walk up those 2 flights of stairs to visit them. I can't make it up the stairs. Now you can make it up. So it's in all kinds of ways. It's just so wonderful that the quality of life like that improves. And that's really, that improvement is like a side effect of all the wonderful health benefits that they are getting from switching to a minimally processed plant-based diet. Now, I should say, you know, you should always talk to your doctor before making changes. And there are a couple of situations where you have to be careful about switching. And that's if you're on Coumadin, a blood thinner. Now, you can eat greens and take Coumadin, but you have to manage that transition carefully, because green leafy vegetables can change Coumadin levels, and that's important to monitor. I have a number of patients who are plant-based who take Coumadin, but you just have to monitor the change. If you're on insulin for diabetes, your insulin requirements may go down quickly. So you have to look at that, because we don't want people to have
how quick are we talking, Doc? Like 10 days?
Well, there are big studies that show just that, like profoundly decrease in insulin requirements over 10 or so days. And it depends how much people get into it, but it can be in a matter of days that they start to see reductions. And now it takes a little while. Like if you've been diabetic for a while, it takes a little while to turn the ship around. You need to improve the health of the lipotoxicity in your muscles and your liver so that they can become less insulin resistant. So it can take a little bit longer, but there are plenty of reports of it happening extremely quickly, days. So we monitor that. And the other one is potassium. It is higher in potassium. And if you have poor kidney function or high potassium to begin with, it's possible that levels could rise, and that can be real dangerous. But that's by far the exception and not the rule. And there's also reasons to think that eating a plant-based diet would help keep potassium lower because of more fiber, more bowel movements, alkalinizing the blood and urine. So it's something you don't really quite know how someone's going to respond. So I just monitor that carefully. And people whose kidney function is not good, or who have high potassium at baseline for whatever reason. But I mean, that's by far the exception, not the rule. And there's plenty of easy ways to monitor that. And then, you know, so many people see benefit from it. And we're so excited about what we've noticed in a handful of reports about heart failure that we're trying to build a case series and build momentum to do studies much more rigorously about a plant-based diet and systolic dysfunction. So stay tuned with that.
Well, I also want to throw in, if you have high blood pressure, because you didn't mention that, because if you're on high blood pressure medications, very quickly your blood pressure can come down. So that's something else you should monitor, correct?
Exactly. So Oh, 100%. So that's what we'll tell people. If you feel dizzy or lightheaded, call us, let us know. We may have to go down on the doses of your blood pressure medication. Very important point.
How many doctors get to reduce or get patients off of medications? I mean, usually you go in and you get the prescription. You get 10 minutes and you get a prescription and you're out the door.
I don't know numbers, but I mean, I don't know colleagues outside of the handful that pursue plant-based nutrition that are seeing this. The only other scenario that I see it in are people who have the weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery, and lose, 150 pounds, like really substantial changes. They will come off a variety of medications. That does have benefit. You can also lose that weight with the plant-based diet and not have surgery, albeit it'll probably take a little longer.
Well, that's me. Surgery. I've lost over 100 pounds, awesome. And kept it off, And I mean, I still have some more to go, but because my fat and I, we've been together for a long time and it doesn't want to give up the mothership. I mean, especially post-menopausal, hanging on to that, baby. But it's true. I mean, and I have documented like quite a few stories of people that have lost 100, 200 pounds or more going plant-based. And it's incredible. I mean, you don't have to do the surgery without question.
I have some patients who are deciding between surgery or not surgery, and they choose, all right, you know what? I'll give it 4 months. I'll go plant-based, and if it doesn't, work for me, I can always, surgery's not off the table. And then they're like, they're losing weight. They're like, you know what? I want to go lifestyle way, and then they just lose and lose and lose. So it's great. And congratulations. That's really impressive.
Well, after a period of time with this new lifestyle, do you retest your patients, for blood pressure, cholesterol, cardiac risk?
Yeah. What we typically do is I try to have blood pressure and weight checks every 6 to 8 weeks or so, really, really quick visits. It's largely for accountability because, many of the patients that I see, when I first meet them, like we work in the Bronx, and, plant-based nutrition hasn't necessarily percolated up there yet. And oftentimes people will look at me when I mention it like I'm from Mars. Like they've never heard about this. And so it takes a while to get someone from here to there. So we have a variety of supports, there's only so much that I can do because we are, as you say, under-resourced, but I have some supports that we do to help to bring them along the way. And we have many patients who have done just that, who looked at me like I was from Mars, and now they speak all about plant-based nutrition. It's wonderful. I'll check blood pressure and a weight check for accountability, but we do that every 6 to 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Sometimes it's over the phone if people are far away for accountability. But also, to track benefits. So it's nice to have those metrics, and we'll periodically check cholesterol level at a routine visit. But I don't usually check a lot of things. I don't see, unless there's some clinical change, I don't see a big reason to do that. And we'll have usually objective measures of benefit anyway, like their cholesterol is falling and their blood pressure is falling and they lost 15 pounds. So we don't need, other kinds of tests. So, and so that makes us feel good that we can practice in a clinically and fiscally responsible way and not over test for things that are just for maybe curiosity's sake that have no clear added value for the patient and may actually have some risk.
Right. Well, what relationships between increased consumption of plant-based foods and health have you seen in general?
I don't even know where to start. That's such a good question. It's such an important question. So one thing I would say is almost all patients have one thing get better or something get better they never would have even thought about. Like whether it's like a back pain or a skin rash or, their nails feel stronger. Had some people have horrific cystitis or inflammation in the bladder, which can be incredibly debilitating. A couple of them had that just go away. Like I can't prove that these things are the plant-based diet. It's just like nothing else changed. But so these are very interesting reports. And there's a pathophysiologic rationale, the anti-inflammatory effect, and then much of back pain, you have little teeny tiny arteries that go feed the discs and parts of the back. And the cholesterol blockages that affect your heart, it doesn't just affect your heart. It's a systemic whole body disease. So it's going to affect those blood vessels too. And it can, so it affects the little blood vessels in the back, and that can cause some back pain. So there's pathophysiological rationale to think that why some of these things may get better. But the usual stuff, high blood pressure, weight, cholesterol, angina, those things, like diabetes, those things get better quite routinely if someone does it.
I got to share one with you. This one woman who is in part of my program, her hair had fallen out a long time ago, like years and years and years ago. Nothing she had done. She wore a wig for a while, but then she said, whatever, I'm done with wigs. Her hair's coming back. It's growing in. It's growing in.
That's just like amazing. Is there anything this can't do?
I know. And
so
bunions, she said her bunions, she had really severe bunions on her foot. And she said within like maybe a couple weeks of starting plant-based, she said she started to feel like tingling in her foot. And very shortly after that, her foot started straightening out and her bunions are going away. It's like, what?
That's a new one for me for sure, but that's pretty cool.
I know. I mean, again, these are just conversations that we're having. Do we have, studies,
awesome.
Double-blind, placebo? No. But when you hear these kinds of things again and again and again, it's magical in terms of this.
I hear you. And when you see the double-blind randomized trial about diet and bunions come out, please email me.
Right?
That is...
But no, I mean, and she was just like, and she said, and it happened in one foot first. And then she said about 2 weeks later, maybe, that it started, she said, I noticed it started tingling in my left foot. And she's like, oh, this is great. And
wow.
And it's starting, her feet are starting to straighten
That's so
out.
interesting because, I don't know, that makes you feel like it's even more credible because it happened just twice. And, same thing, same way. Cool.
I know. Absolutely amazing. Amazing.
When are you going to start the Bunion Advantage program? I think we should totally do that.
Or the Replace Your Hair Advantage. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be so amazing. The hair club for men, when I was younger, that was big deal.
Right?
You should totally do that.
I don't know if it would work for men. I don't know if it would work for men, but, for women, because I know women do it. But I think she had some kind of health issue, related, and I need to dive more into her story. I'm going to be doing an interview coming up with her down the road. But her story is just phenomenal. I mean, and things that I had not heard of happening and changing. She's like, she's like, I didn't want to say anything about my bunions because I thought it'd be too weird. We call these non-scale victories of things that are and I call it peeling back layers of an onion, that as you start to learn about your health, like for me, I learned I was so salt sensitive. I can't have salt. I cannot have salt. And if I do, my blood pressure goes up. And I just know that now, about myself. And I can't have salt. And even in processed foods, if I can't, pretty much it's limited me to going out to eat. It's very rare that I can go out to eat unless I find a place, that will prepare food for me that won't hurt.
Right.
Right. But all right, let's jump back into the article because we kind of digressed, and I do that a lot. Anyway, you talk about the reactive oxygen species, the ROS, which then can induce the myocyte hypertrophy, aortic stiffness, apoptosis, interstitial fibrosis. Okay, wow, blah, 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 blah. That for most people, you're like, what? Can you talk about these symptoms, for example, and then talk about the effect of a plant-based diet on ROS, or the reactive oxygen species?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So reactive oxygen species are kind of they're free radicals. And oxygen gives us life and takes it away. So we need oxygen to live, but in the process of metabolizing oxygen and other reactions in the body, we make free radicals often from those steps. And so we need it, but the sort of junk, if you will, that comes with it can sometimes cause some damage to the body, and it's kind of like rusting. It's like over time, slowly, 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 we're rusting a little bit from the free radicals, which makes our blood vessels a little bit stiffer, makes our heart a little bit stiffer and stiffer over time, and can create inflammation. It's all kind of woven together. But a plant-based diet can protect you from reactive oxygen species and free radicals because it has tons and tons of antioxidants, way, way more than do animal-based foods. And those antioxidants in the plant-based foods can scavenge up those free radicals, those reactive oxygen species, and help to minimize the negative effects that they have. So, for example, a plant-based meal, I think, a plant-based food has, on average, about 64 times more antioxidants than does an animal-based food. And I think berries have, I may be off by that number a little bit, berries have something like 65 or 70 times more antioxidants than does fish. So I apologize, I don't have those numbers exactly right, but it is, you know, a large factor more of antioxidants in plant-based foods than there are in animal-based foods. And they scavenge up the free radicals. They can delay the rusting, if you will. And that's part, like the reactive oxygen species, that promotes coronary artery disease. It is associated with worse outcomes long-term. It worsens erectile function. You know, these things are all tied together. And, you know, those kinds of reactive oxygen species can make LDL cholesterol particles oxidize, and those types of LDL cholesterol particles are particularly irritating to blood vessels that promotes atherosclerosis. So when you start, it's like one of those, remember that movie, was it A Beautiful Mind? And he's a brilliant guy, and he would create all these amazing connections. And, well, it's sort of the same kind of thing. These reactive oxygen species interact in all sorts of ways: stiffen blood vessels, oxidize LDL cholesterol, worsen erectile function, more coronary artery disease, more inflammation. That when you eat a plant-based diet and you start to scavenge those free radicals, slow the rusting down, it's beneficial in tons of different ways. And one of the ways that we're learning more and more about now is the microbiome. And eating more plant-based foods can reduce trimethylamine oxide, a byproduct of choline metabolism or L-carnitine metabolism through the gut microbiome. And the more trimethylamine oxide, which promotes inflammatory and oxidative stress damage, the less you have of that, the better you do. So it's like multiplicative. And I look honestly at nutrition like a symphony. A symphony is an incredibly complex milieu of sounds and instruments and all this stuff. And like, we kind of know what the drum does and what the cymbal does, but when you put it all together, it's multiplicative. You can't even wrap your head around it. So, all right, who cares? Now, if you look at like the blue zones, right? I look at the blue zones kind of like the symphony, because okay, we know the blue zones are places where people live most over 100, the most centenarians. And what are some common themes? Common themes are they're just active as part of their day. It's not like they're all going to some workout class. They're just active as part of their day. They have social support, and they eat primarily a plant-based diet. Not exclusively, but primarily a plant-based diet. And more than 50% carbohydrates, unrefined carbohydrates, more than 50% carbs. And they're the longest living populations in the world. And so I look at them as the symphony. They're the result of the symphony, and it's up to us, and we're learning about, oh, well, the drum does this, and the violin does that, and the trombone does that. And so it all kind of adds up to this incredible symphony. And along those lines, there's this incredible group of people called the Siman people. They live in Bolivia. They're an indigenous group of people with the lowest rates of heart disease ever recorded in the medical literature. And there's a whole article published about them in Lancet in 2017. I think it was July 2017. And I may have every detail wrong, not every detail exactly right, but I think they flew CAT scan machines down to where they are to like take images of their heart. It's like amazing in the jungles of Bolivia. And so they have the lowest rates of heart disease ever recorded in the medical literature. Their heart disease rates, their blood vessel age on average is about 25 years younger, pound for pound, compared to a typical American. 25 years. What do they eat? Basically a plant-based diet. Well, their diet is about 70% or so carbs, which is unrefined carbs. And it's probably about 14% protein and 14% fat. And the animal products that they're getting, they catch wild game. They catch monkeys, like wild monkeys. So, but their diet is primarily unrefined carbohydrates and plant-based, and they have the lowest rates of heart disease ever recorded in the medical literature. So I look at those populations, they're the symphony. And we're learning about what adds up to that symphony with this really cool research.
I just think back to my son who in the middle school played the baritone, and it was painful, you know, pa pa. But when he got in with the symphony, it was like, that's my kid playing that? And it sounded great when it was with the symphony, but painful listening to him practice in the basement. He got the theme to Jaws down, you know, dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Done. We got that played. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, moving on. Inflammation is associated with heart disease, but consuming a plant-based diet, is inflammation reduced? How does this work?
Yes, it can reduce, it does reduce inflammation, and through a variety of mechanisms, some we don't even know. It can help scavenge those reactive oxygen species or free radicals, and that can reduce inflammation levels. It can be very helpful for the gut microbiome, where you make more short-chain fatty acids and less trimethylamine oxide. Both of those things are helpful to reduce inflammation, and part of it is what you are not eating. You are not eating animal products. And so, for example, if let's say you have red meat has heme iron, that's pro-oxidant, pro-inflammatory, associated with more heart disease, more prostate cancer, more diabetes. There are plant-based forms of iron. It's a different molecular structure. There's this really, really cool thing called Sciatic Acids that Dr. Gortz is going to come and talk about at our conference. And what that is on the cell, it's a kind of carbohydrate, small molecule that's on the cell membrane of the outer part of the cell of non-human primates. So not us, but other primates like us. So these investigators said, you know, if we eat this meat with the new 5-GC or the sialic acid on it, maybe we take it up into our own bodies and we see it as foreign and have an inflammatory reaction, like we attack it immunologically. Well, it turns out that that seems to be the case. There are animal models where they engineered mice who have no new 5-GC, and they fed them red meat with new 5-GC. They took it up into their cells and had a massive immunologic response, and it appears to also happen in humans as well. Okay, so you're not eating that. You're not eating the heme iron. There's advanced glycation end products, which is a product of cooking or meat processing, which is way more common in plant-based food or animal-based foods, than plant-based foods, and those promote inflammation as well. There is saturated fat in the animal products, and that can go to the liver, create ceramides, more inflammation there. So there are multiple things that you're benefiting from just from not eating the animal products, and then of course eating the plant products, you're having benefits from that as well. So and all those things can lead to less inflammation and lower blood pressure.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I've got another article we're going to be discussing at another time, and I look forward to that. And of course, your conference. And if anybody can help to sponsor and help support this amazing work, oh my gosh, I'll put the information down below that you can connect and, you know, help sponsor this and get the word out, because with a plant-based diet, you can make all of these changes and change in your health. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you and all of your audience.
And I'll see you soon at the next, for the next article.
Cool. Great. Thank you so much.